Hi guys, and welcome to the new interdisciplinary course organized and supported by the Intellect Foundation, and the course is devoted to artificial intelligence. I do believe we're all a bit fed up with artificial intelligence, yeah? But I hope that some of you are here not because it is obligatory to take a course in artificial intelligence, but because you are really interested in it. And so today we will look from the cognitive linguistics perspective on whether AGI is possible. Have you ever heard this abbreviation? What does it stand for? Absolutely, yeah, artificial general intelligence. So today the question is whether the robot, human-like robot, is possible or not, kind of Terminator. Yeah? And I do believe, as a linguist, that it might be of some importance to look at this question from the linguistics angle, because our brain and our language, they are connected. And this connection is rather difficult to understand. It's not so straightforward which meanings stand behind the words. And it's rather hard for the artificial neural networks to figure out which meanings are behind the words. It is, you know, like my little daughter once said that the word zаяц in Russian, it starts with 3. So this is how she sees the symbols, the signs, and this is how the artificial technologists try to get the ideas. So today we will just discuss this whole idea, and then we will go deeper into the field of natural language processing, NLP. A few years ago, this field, NLP, this abbreviation, was rather popular, but it was about neuro-linguistic programming. We have nothing to do with it here now. This course is about NLP, which stands for natural language processing. So if you answer this question, part of the credit you already get, yeah? So you have the general idea. Have you ever heard of this guy, Zastavka? In fact, please do meet. He is considered to be the inventor of ChatGPT. Of course, a huge team worked on GPT, but from the scientific side, he is the one who is considered to be the inventor. By the way, born in Nizhny Novgorod, which is kind of something we might be proud of. And as you see, half a year before ChatGPT was launched, he posted that neural networks were already slightly conscious. And now, in 2024, he has already left OpenAI because Sam Altman, who is the head of OpenAI, considers that they should develop GPT, the more the better, yeah? Whilst Zastavka, who is behind this technology, he suggests that the main issue for today is safety. Because he believes that, yeah, it is achievable, this AGI. But the question is whether it would be for or against humankind. And so he has already started a new startup, which is called Safe Superintelligence. And by the way, he already raised $1 billion for it. So happy guys, so to say. What we are going to discuss today is, first of all, a bit of cognitive science, where linguistics is, why it is important to go deeper into the question of the connection between meanings, words, and cognitive abilities. Then we'll discuss, so to say, history of benchmarks. Benchmarks are the tests to test robots. And Turing test and Chinese room argument, they were the first ones trying to evaluate whether something is maybe called artificial intelligence or not. And finally, we will go deeper into some peculiarities of big text data, because it's all about big data, but text data has some peculiarities for machine learning and deep learning as the most effective method, and we'll try to figure out what it is deep learning. And finally, at the end of each class, together with Baby Yoda, we will give some kind of case studies, and today we will discuss whether AI can replace the teacher or not. So we will decide it at the end. And finally, of course, I will give you the course requirements, the link to the site, and so on. So the first thing is cognitive science. So, of course, it is interdisciplinary. A lot of disciplines, because we can look at our cognitive abilities from different angles. Psychology, neuroscience, computer sciences, linguistics, and so on. Cognitive science, it started to develop in the middle of the 20th century as the answer to behaviorism. What do you think from the root of the word? What does it mean, behaviorism? Exactly, yeah. Behaviorism means, for example, if we learn foreign languages and use behavioristic methods, then we just try to copy something, to copy the behavior. We can learn some patterns, some expressions, and even without deep understanding, we can repeat them and communicate on A2 level. Fine. But in the middle of the 20th century, they tried to figure out how the brain works as a system, as a whole structure, and so on. For example, for you, what is it better to learn a language just to learn some vocabulary items, or do you prefer to draw this table of tenses and so on? What is easier? Sorry? The table? Any other experiences? Okay, so it depends, of course. Normally it is kind of combination, but what we are interested in is how it works, how the brain works, because they try now to artificially simulate these brain activities. So, another thing, strawberry problem. Has anyone heard of strawberry problem? This,
yes.
You're welcome.
So when they asked ChatGPT how many R's there are in the word strawberry, it kept saying 2, although obviously there are 3.
Absolutely, yeah, the strawberry problem, and it is still there. In fact, a few months ago, they started a new project at OpenAI in the middle of the year 2024, and they called it Strawberry Project. And in September 2024, they launched GPT-01, which is considered to be the answer to this problem. However, from time to time, that's the tricky thing about neural networks, so sometimes it gives the correct answer, but from time to time, it gives the incorrect answer still. The interesting thing is that, in fact, GPT-01 is quite a reasonable thing, because unlike GPT-4, for example, it is able to solve 90% of problems in the so-called math data set, which includes middle and high school mathematics Olympiad problems. So as we're here at the Faculty of Mechanics and Mathematics, will you tell me whether this level is kind of straightforward, or is it a good result? What do you think? Because I'm not acquainted with Olympiad mathematics problems. The school level, does it mean that it can come with some creative ideas, or it's just rather straightforward? Just your opinions.
Well, I think it's good. It's good sometimes. It solves those complicated problems. But in other situations, when at such a level of, let's say, it can solve a really hard problem, and yet it cannot solve the easiest one. It just it's some sort of line to see the easy and the obvious answers. It only like adds complete. It makes it more complicated.
That's interesting.
To add something, I think that sometimes we also don't see some obvious results when we know some techniques to solve hard problems. I think that it's a good result because many of the problems in middle and high school, many maths problems, maybe they require some techniques, but sometimes they're special and they need to think probably to understand them and to solve them.
Okay.
Could one have a lack in instruments? For example, I doubt that one can divide any word in a single letters because it analyzes words. Most of the labs analyze words as whole tokens, so it has not an instrument to analyze each letter, and it's basing its answers on information being which has been injected inside it, or which has been trained on, and some of the reasons in this big data set said that strawberry has 2 letters, some said that it has 3 letters. So the chances, it generates usually by random, so sometimes it picks strawberry with 2 letters and with 3, and sometimes with 3.
Absolutely, yeah.
I just couldn't understand what is the exact reason of such a mistake.
This is what have been just explained, that normally the token is the word, so it doesn't see the letters, the particular letters. It is.
Why so?
It is the problem of coding, and we will discuss, in fact, why so? We will discuss it during the course, because normally today we will discuss what is an utterance. Utterance is a sentence, and of course it's easier for a bot, at least for a straightforward bot to consider the whole sentences as utterances, and then to figure out whether this sentence is, okay, hello, how are you? It would answer hi, and it doesn't matter whether there are some, for example, misprints. It needs just the whole idea. So yeah, of course, if it tries to learn on a data set with only correct letters, and if we try to take each letter as a token, then yeah, we can explain it, but it has a huge data set, and it continuously is learning, and that is why this mistake is coming back. And in fact, a bit later today, we will discuss this method of deep learning, and we will try to figure out how GPT and equivalence try to correct its own mistakes. But still, it's quite difficult because they kind of come back, they kind of follow it.
So it's a typical mistake for every word with double letters?
Yeah, I do believe that it does matter which word. It was just randomly chosen about strawberry, but yeah, in fact, if we ask it like 8 in 10, it would answer correctly, but there would be some mistakes. And that's the problem, that they still appear. And this is partly about the difference how our neural networks work and how the artificial ones try to simulate it, because it's absolutely different. So cognitive linguistics was started, as I've already mentioned, in the middle of the 20th century. And the father of it is considered Noam Chomsky. It's just like the most famous linguist of modern age. Yeah, somebody knows him. So he's our contemporary, already 95 years old, but still he has his opinion about GPT. And so why he's considered to be the father of cognitive linguistics? He once introduced a theory about grammar, and the idea was behind this theory that in each language we have some particular rules, and somehow they're the same for most of the languages. And he tried to structure and to classify all grammar according to this universal grammar. And of course, if it is so, it's much easier for artificial technologies to learn it. However, there are two parts of cognitive linguistics which are in question for any technology. The first part, I think it is this one, it is how to figure out the symbols, how to deal with the signs and symbols, how to tokenize the text, whether it is better to take just little parts or just whole big parts. And normally this question, this problem is solved at the level of preparing the text, preparing the corpus, the data set for machine learning. And a lot of success depends on this stage. And during our course, we will use a few code snippets which help us to prepare the text for processing. And this is very important, to prepare the text. And second thing is semantics. So semantics is about the meaning. And this is even harder, because this is about processing, about figuring out different meanings of words. And this is the stage where, okay, strawberry problem is somewhere here, but this is a much more difficult stage. And here I would say it's very important that in different countries, and in Russia as well, they have their own GPTs, because of course it's nothing to do with competition, yeah, with GPT from OpenAI. But we all might feel easily that GPT is an English speaker initially. That is why I do believe that you all experienced the fact that if you prompt something in English, the answer would be more accurate. And so if we have some questions about some Russian phenomena, then it's better to talk to Alice or to another Russian-speaking GPT, because yeah, the technology itself might not be so accurate, but it might know more data about something in Russian. So this is about semantics. By the way, do you use any kind of generative technologies in studies? Will you raise your hands, those who do? I won't tell anyone. Do you use GPT in your studies? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, probably. Not everyone? Okay, good. Not everyone is like so sincere with me yet, but fine. So yeah, today, of course, almost everyone uses GPT.
It could be useful when you have to find some specific literature.
Yeah, that's good, but in fact, my task after this lecture, I would kindly ask you to talk to GPT, to any version, about your research interest, because probably you are all into preparing, writing your master degree thesis or dissertations or diploma papers, and we need as students of the best university to figure out the limitations of it. Because yeah, sometimes it might help us with finding some articles, but on the other hand, it can invent articles, yeah? And so it can invent quotations, it can invent even those DUIs, the numbers of articles. So we can't rely on it. And the whole idea behind this course is that of course, we will use in our research some generative AI technologies, but we should use some specialized tools because they process scientific data. If we use just GPT, then it appears that in our work we will have the information from blogs, from messaging, from whatever it is. So at the end of the course, I believe that we will all, for you will yourself, find the tools that are suitable for your research interest, analyze some articles with them, and figure out that, okay, GPT, we will start with discussing its limitations, is not enough for a researcher, and of course is not enough for a good professional. We all need to find the specialized tools. Okay, so back to cognitive things, because again, it's not only about data, it's about the way it processes information. So if you are interested in Noam Chomsky, then the notes of this lecture, they will be on site, and there would be a link to a video with him. You're welcome to watch it. So what do you think? So this linguist, he thinks that there is some kind of universal grammar suitable for most of the languages. What do you think? Is he for or against the idea of AGI? Does he think that it is possible to create a robot which communicates absolutely human-like, or impossible?
No.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean that he communicates like a person? Like his sentences are good, or that he thinks like a person?
Thinks mostly. It's about cognitive abilities, because if we communicate with ChatGPT, like 6 or 8 prompts would be enough to figure out that it's a machine, I do believe, for a normal person, yeah? But this is the Turing test that we'll discuss in a minute. So just his opinion, what do you think? Mm-hmm. Yeah? You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
I think it's quite complicated because we can see that now some sort of humor, jokes, they can understand jokes and like even wordplay and stuff like this. But even at this level, there is some sort of it lacks empathy.
Mm-hmm.
But as you're already like even some human has this issue. Like sometimes even when you talk to like human beings, it means that they're very no emotions. But in some I think that we're still kind of like far behind from achievement is, yes.
Yeah, exactly. This is the opinion of Noam Chomsky. That's true. He thinks that, but he's an elderly person already, and he likes such surprising opinions. But in his interview on GPT a year ago or something, he said that it's absolutely impossible that this technology would become human-like, would be able to communicate like a human, although he is a structuralist, so he thinks that, yeah, structure, it is easy to kind of learn the structure of the language, but it's not enough. By the way, what do you think? Which percentage of information in communication is verbal, is just words, like 50%, 70%, because it's not enough, yeah? We do not communicate only with words.
I think that about 10% are standing for verbal, like words, and about 90% are standing for non-verbal, like vision, posture, and so on.
Absolutely. So non-verbal, extraverbal communication, 10%. In some research you can find such a number, but just approximately, on average, they say about 2/3. So they say that about 2/3 of communication is non-verbal or extraverbal. And this is the hardest thing for the technology, to learn. So back to the middle of the 20th century and computer sciences as a part of cognitive science. This guy, Professor John McCarthy, in his Dartmouth College, said that within his seminar, which was later called Dartmouth Seminar, in the summer of 1956, that they would create a machine, a robot, that simulates 100% of cognitive abilities, human abilities. Did they succeed? Did they manage? No. And still seems like we didn't. We haven't either. But nevertheless, he introduced this term, artificial intelligence. So the question was whether what is meant by that communication, yeah? And this is the question of Turing test. Have you ever heard of Turing test? Yeah, good. So tell me in a few words, what is it?
Well, it's a test where you talk to, either a computer you talk with some kind of terminal, for example, like a computer, to a human and to an AI, and you try to determine which is which.
Absolutely, yeah. So Alan Turing, back in the 50s, asked the question, can machines think? And he suggested what you've just introduced, that a person is speaking to something or somebody, and so if he believes, talking to a bot, that it's a person, then, ta-dam, this is artificial intelligence. What do you think? Is it, no. Is it a valid test? Okay, yeah, just go ahead. No?
Was until last year.
Okay.
There hasn't been cases when did not say the correct answer.
Okay, so one of the first robots which passed the test was called Eliza. So this is the scheme how it worked. So it looks like a modern bot where it just chooses the next sentence from the database, relying on the previous question or answer. So this robot Eliza is still available. If you Google it, you can talk to it, but it's not fascinating nowadays. We're again fed up with talking to bots. Initially, Eliza was a psychotherapist, and it just used the technique of passive listening, asking the questions to the previous statement, and it passed the test. I do believe that if we speak about psychologists or psychiatrists, they often do it. And yeah, so we've discussed it, whether it is valid or not. Seems like not enough, at least now, yeah? By the way, Eliza, do you have any associations?
Yes.
Yeah? Will you tell us what is it? Where does it come from, this name?
So Eliza Bootle from My Fair Lady, also the story of Wigmania, if anyone knows. Basically, she was a flower girl who talked in Hockey, and in order to sell flowers, she had to change her accent. And so a linguistics professor, phonetics professor, Mr. Higgins, taught her how to speak properly with a good accent, and she managed to do so and made a lady out of her.
So that is why they call this robot that tried to learn a language Eliza. Yeah, and if you are interested in this, it is a very famous musical. You're welcome again looking through the notes to watch a short song where she's trying to learn English phonetics. Have you ever had troubles with English pronunciation? Yeah, it's more about linguistic faculties where they have a lot of trouble with it. Right, so you said that it's not enough, Yeah, this Turing test is not enough to call something artificial intelligence. And Professor John Searle in 1980s said that, okay, if Professor Searle, is put in a room and I get some questions in Chinese, and I have a tutorial, what is the suitable answer for this question, I might not have any idea about the meaning, but I would give suitable answers. So the way the bots work normally. For example, the question is, what is your favorite color? He has the list of hieroglyphs that would be suitable, yeah? And doesn't matter which is his truly favorite color, he would give a suitable answer. So this Chinese room argument is one of the basics of cognitive linguistics on the whole, and it proves that it's not enough just to keep a conversation to prove that the program understands the meaning. And so John Searle, after proposing this argument, he also introduced the idea of artificial general intelligence, trying to classify the types of neural networks, the types of algorithms. Nowadays, there are a lot of typologies, classifications, but this is the core one, that we have some limited neural networks that help solve problems in particular spheres. And before 2022, we had mostly only them. But if it becomes multidisciplinary, that's another story. That's the first kind of try to general intelligence, the first attempt. Okay, let's look into big text data, and with images, it's not easy, but we all know that the machine, the neural network, compares pixels with the data set that it has, just to figure out, for example, our face on camera. We all faced it during COVID times. What about the text? How does the machine see the text? What does it see? So once again, what's this, Aman? What does it stand for? Machine learning. And DL?
Deep learning.
Deep learning, brilliant. Probably you will explain to me what's the difference. And now let's see what is it. Let's discuss what is it, big text data. So in fact, it's all about computer-mediated discourse. This type of discourse includes all the texts that go through the internet, that go through any devices. It includes text-based communication, messaging, blogs, sites, doesn't matter, but the written, normally the written or the oral register, the scripts as well. But at the same time, it includes virtual reality environments, including gaming and conferencing, and any multimedia, videos, and so on. And again, today, after 2 years, we have ChatGPT. The key to success lies here in the data, in the multimodal data, which is processed. Because as we decided with you, if 2/3 of the meaning lies in the nonverbal and extraverbal communication, then the machine needs to analyze, needs to process communication in those virtual and multimedia reality just to learn what is there behind the words, what is additional to the words. And so, of course, within this course, we will discuss with you mostly text-based communication of the scientific discourse, because we are interested in processing some materials for our research. But we need to bear in mind that it's very important that nowadays this text big data is multimodal. And as already mentioned, normally the machine gets as an utterance, as a unit to process a sentence, and then it classifies it to a particular dialog act. And then it is possible for it to generate a suitable answer to figure out what stands behind your prompt or question, or just to work with in semantic search, where it tries to generate, to summarize the main ideas, the main answers to your question, not just giving you the top sites. Yeah. Okay. Will you now follow this QR code? And there you will find a game by Yandex where you will try to learn like a neural network. So you will have about 2 or 3 minutes. You choose one of the topics, the one that appeals to you most. I don't know, there are bunnies and hares, some kind of art and so on. You choose what you prefer. Then you get a few images to learn, and then you will be tested. And you will share your results.
What if I don't have internet?
Sorry?
I don't have internet.
I can share.
Me neither. Yeah, but no internet here. Right, so then you will follow this link when looking through the notes of the lecture. Sorry for that. In fact, it is the first time that I have a lecture in this main building. Although there is no internet, I do like something about it, but it's a pity. So the idea behind it is that the neural network, when it processes data, it's quite straightforward. So it just compares what it gets and then gives some kind of result, some kind of output. So what do you think? If the machine, the neural network, compares 2 images, what is the normal percentage for today of the accuracy of the output that it would guess the image next time, where there is a hare and where there is a rabbit? 90, okay, even more?
95 or so.
95 or 7? 95 or 7 or even more nowadays. And if you do this test, I'm not sure that all of you would get this 99% of guessing the images. However, it does not mean that it has these cognitive abilities of understanding the difference between a hare and a rabbit, yeah? And nevertheless, nowadays, it's much better with a lot of tasks about GPT. And the secret is here in backpropagation. So let's discuss what is a neural network. How would you define it?
Neural network is an algorithm that tries to mimic the way the person is thinking. It tries to mimic the behavior of the neurons inside a head. All those connections between neurons, and it does so by just numerical algorithms, multiplication, addition, weights and sums, all sorts of things.
Okay, right. So in fact, some machine learning techniques, they've been here for a few decades. But again, normally they call artificial intelligence just absolutely straightforward algorithms. What I mean, for example, at the end of the 20th century, there was such a case when IBM, as far as I remember, Robert, beat Harry Kasparov in a chess match, yeah? You've heard of it? Yeah, so in fact, this algorithm just chose the best variant of all the games that it had in its data set of the millions of games. So is it machine learning? Seems like not. So it's again about just hype. But there was another case, and here it is, of the Go game. Have you heard of this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what does that mean? What's the difference if compared to the chess match?
Game Go has more complicated system of strategies than chess.
There are more possible variants than in chess.
Yeah. The same, right? And so it didn't just choose one of the variants of the methods that it had in its memory, but it came up with a new solving of the game, yeah, with a new method, a new technique. Of course, it's not artificial intelligence as a terminator, but still, it is about effective machine learning for neural networks. Okay, so yeah, we have a neural network. It gets some parameters by the person given by a human, or just it figures out some additional parameters to learn. But still, for example, in terms of machine translation, 10 years ago, it was not satisfying at all, yeah? Google Translate, for example, it just was approximately rule-based translation given word-to-word translation. But then the revolution came, and it was about deep learning. The process here presumes that, to put it mildly, this backpropagation is correcting mistakes. So it comes back to the point where it made a mistake, an error. It weights these errors, these mistakes, and then it tries to correct itself. And it can do it millions of times. So for example, Google Translate, it gets an utterance, a sentence to translate. And nowadays, it wouldn't just take a word-to-word translation or just statistical translation, but it would compare it to millions of similar examples, comparing by different parameters, coming back if the result is not satisfactory. And that is why nowadays, do you use machine translation?
Yes.
Is it fine?
Well, it got really better last year or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Recently, it has developed seriously. Nevertheless, of course, we can't say that a machine translator can translate fiction because, again, it loses meanings. But as for technical texts, as for business texts, it's quite fine nowadays. And it seems like, in general, if we compare a machine translation text and a human translated one, if the human one is kind of average, I do believe that in a lot of cases, we would prefer the machine one. And this is about how the market changes, that of course, hopefully, no neural networks would replace a good translator of fiction. But however, already, if we compare machine translation just to amateur translation or to translation of average quality, then we would prefer Google Translate or some other tools, any other tools that you use for translating. Exactly, deep learning. Yeah, this is at least now considered to be the best user-oriented, not professional translation service. Do you use DeepLWrite, the editor?
Yes.
Yeah, so for English it's fine. As for Russian, I do believe again that Yandex editor is more or less fine now as well, because a few years ago, again, editing Russian text, in most cases it made it worse, but now again it's quite fine. So once we will discuss, one lecture would be devoted to these machine translation techniques, and we will look in more detail what happens. And I would say this backpropagation process reminds me of this tennis serving, when you try with the second serve to get to this ideal target that you have on your mind as kind of ideal output. And here it's not about 2 serves, but about millions of serves. Right, so back to Ilya Sutskever. So now he believes that, you remember that half a year before ChatGPT, he said that it's slightly conscious. Now he believes that superintelligence is within reach. And he thinks that the main thing here is about safety, because we do not know how it would kind of move. So as for translators, yeah, we can see that in some cases they are already better than some average translators. What about the teachers? Would you now please, I hope that without the internet we will manage with this, discuss in pairs whether AI can replace a teacher or not, but preferably if you speak in English to each other, because you deal a lot with teachers, lecturers, and so on, and do you want the teachers to be replaced by AI? So will you take now a minute or two to discuss it in pairs, and then we'll discuss it all together? Okay, so sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you guys. All right. So what is your verdict? Should I be here or AI might replace me? Okay, still not. Right. So what can AI do as a teacher?
Honestly, I don't think that AI can replace a teacher. Well, not yet, but just say it. Because sometimes, as she said, sometimes it's like a creative process to be able to listen. Sometimes you need to find the right approach and the right example for the right person. And also sometimes, personally, I try to ask ChatGPT questions to learn about something that I don't understand. I think it only helps when you have the minimum or a basic knowledge. It helps you improve it. But if you have no idea and you're lost, it's only gonna make it more complicated for you. Sometimes we need to ask a question to a teacher, to a human being, to a person. Why? Because sometimes it's our problem in the way we rephrase our questions. If I'm asking about the subject I don't understand, I may be asking it in the wrong way. A teacher would understand, but a robot would be just lost. He can't understand what I'm saying. So a teacher would be like, no, you're wrong. It's actually it's called like this, and it's not used as you're thinking. But maybe I wouldn't recognize my mistake in my understanding. It will only build on it. So I will build in my knowledge on something that's actually already wrong. And also it depends on the age of the students you're dealing with. For instance, if we're dealing with younger students, I think they need some sort of parenting with teaching. They need to see that this is the child, he didn't sleep well, he's tired, he's not focusing, this one has problems, this one I don't know, we need to see and understand the student we are dealing with. Okay.
If Elon Musk's innovative microchips become popular, it will be obligatory to insert AI here. So in fact, it definitely will be a teacher for some part of people who can install it. And if it will not be, if it wouldn't be possible to communicate for two people with this chip to each other, the AI definitely would be a replacement for it.
Okay. I think that.
For me, the process of teaching is more about communication rather than knowledge. So also there are some hard students with hard behavior, and every student needs his own unique style of teaching, whether artificial intelligence can provide only pure knowledge, pure theory, without understanding and empathy to every student, so students would want to learn something.
Yeah, so there are a lot of reasons here, but still, sometimes on the other hand, so you mostly mentioned, a few times it was mentioned, about empathy, about emotions and stuff like that, but but it has kind of the drawback side. For example, if speaking about foreign languages, I do believe that you all had this case at school or somewhere when they said that you shouldn't speak English, it's absolutely impossible for you, or with any other subject, when teachers do make mistakes. And here we can avoid that, but just it's like one argument. Sam Altman, so the head of OpenAI, in his essay, which he posted a few days ago, said that our children will have virtual tutors who can provide personalized instruction. So it seems like, partly, of course, if we speak about psychology, then it's quite difficult, especially with the youngest ones. But if we speak about materials, about this personalized learning path, seems like AI might be of help. However, if we speak about so-called intellectual systems of teaching, nowadays, of course, I wouldn't say that they manage anything. Nevertheless, this is how he sees the future. And here, as for the youngest, another thing, you mentioned that it's sometimes hard if the little kid, I don't know, is not in the mood or something like that, but the eldest speaker manages with it absolutely 100%, and in fact, it's very frightening, I do believe, because with our daughter, as both my husband and I are a bit into technologies just a bit, but still we try to limit this using of Alice to a few times a week, because otherwise some children, they already are grown just with it, it is their best friend. Okay, back to personalized instruction. So in this beautiful future, AI should just help us to form this personalized learning path, because we decided with you that average specialists, they are already replaced by technology. Google Translate manages better than a lot of translators. So if we want to have some job, we need to be high quality specialists, and then we need this personalized learning path to be some kind of unique specialist. How it all happens? Of course, it's all about lifelong learning, where at the first stage, within formal education, at school and at universities, teachers and instructors who still lead the process, they try to give the opportunities to individualize the materials. For example, here you had the opportunity to choose any course, but still AI is a victor. And it's very important also to teach students to figure out those materials for themselves, because that is what they will need further in their life. At the second stage of personalization, which happens in so-called informal education, when we need private classes of languages, when we take professional development courses and stuff like that. Here, learner becomes in the center of it. And finally, the third stage, where in fact we are all already, is personification, when within non-formal education, we are all surrounded by some stuff, some educational stuff, in social networks, in mobile apps, and so on. And it's very important to have some criteria how to choose the materials, because 80% of what we can find in social networks won't help us a lot, in real learning, in real studies.
She found it.
Your impressions? Does it help or not?
Sometimes.
It's more of a game.
Yeah, that's more of a game. I completed 7 courses, I still don't speak any of the languages.
Okay.
It's more for kids because it's just basics like learning words, so you cannot learn any dictionary book and learn it.
Nevertheless, they say that in already for 3 years or something, there is a neural network called word brain, which is inside Duolingo, and it tries to create the individualized learning path for every user. Do you feel it or not when using such things?
That's why Duolingo likes to offend people in some ways, yeah?
In which ways, for example?
And threats them.
Naming some funny things, people in notifications, for example.
Trying to kind of learn human humor.
And also learning involves some kind of empathy. For example, when you back up courses, they all can be upset and tears or something.
Or offend you.
Yeah, so it's all about kind of gamification of education. And indeed, it can give you just the knowledge, the basic knowledge, and then it's up to you whether you develop your skills or not. Nevertheless, more than 10 years ago, I defended my PhD thesis on the topic of mobile learning. Not because I like it, but because I do believe, I still do believe that all the devices, they are kind of against education. But still, they are here, so we need to figure out the methods, how to use them accurately. 10 years ago, it was about mobile apps. Nowadays, it's about And by the way, what do you think? When word brain tries to create this learning path, individual learning path, what does it analyze? What is important in the behavior of a user in such an app to some kind of change the materials for him to offer something? What is important? Mistakes, for sure. The first thing is mistakes, and I think that you'll know that in such mobile apps, if you make a mistake, similar sentences and this particular sentence will follow you. Yeah, so you will face them a few times. Okay, first, what else is important?
The level of language, so you can choose are you beginner or intermediate.
Okay,
And your social status, are you student, pupil, or something, and your personal goals.
Yeah, that's very important. Okay.
How often the user opens the app and for how long does he stay?
Absolutely, yeah.
And also it asks your personal goals. Why are you learning? Why are you learning such language? For traveling, for working, for studying, or something like this.
Absolutely, yeah. So, in total, there are a lot of parameters, psychometric parameters, starting from just making mistakes, from goals and levels, and going on with analyzing such parameters as the amount of time spent on a particular task, the amount of attempts, because we tend to close the tasks, not taking the tasks immediately, those which we don't like, which we probably have difficulties with. And so if analyzing all that stuff, according to some research, it's even more important than just the mistakes, because the person might not do the mistake, but still, if he 3 times before that closed that task, and then spent like not 5 but 15 minutes on it, if 5 is the average score, then seems like this is his weak point. But this is all in theory yet. Normally it's just about the sentences with mistakes. Yeah, and here I am. My name is Anna Petrovna. I come from the Faculty of Foreign Languages. I'm a linguist, so this course is about natural language processing, but I'm not about technology, I'm about language. So I will share with you something about linguistics. Next time we will discuss those peculiarities of meanings which are difficult for technology, and at the same time we will together with you figure out what technologies, which architectures try to overcome those difficulties. Starting with lecture 3, within the tasks and lectures, there would be some snippets of code in our course, and I will now describe the requirements. But you don't need to be a programmer. I'm not either. We will just use some open libraries to process bits of text. In the first part of the course, it would be just trying out some tools already made, or trying out some code snippets that you can copy from my collab. But in the second part of the course, you would use those tools within analyzing the texts from your research field. So there would be 12 lectures, including today's one. All the materials, I mean the notes of the lecture, not the presentation, but the notes with the images are available on the platform of the course. And also after each lecture, there is a very short multiple choice test, so you can take it in 2 minutes if putting the answers randomly, or you can preferably look through the notes and answer the questions, like spending 15 minutes. Then from the side of cognitive science, probably you will remember about 40 or 50% of the facts. And finally, after each lecture, there is a task. It takes normally about 20 or 40 minutes. For example, this time I would ask you to talk to GPT, any version, about your research question, and figure out the limitations, not the possibilities, because it's unfortunately nowadays it is possible to defend a diploma paper, but of a very low quality. If you want to be a specialist, not replaced by AI, better to do something of a high quality. But we need to figure out what are the limitations in each particular sphere, because they are different. They differ much. So according to the rules of Intellect Foundation, the tasks and all this information, lectures, tasks, and tests would be available from Friday till the next class. And you have all the time to do these tasks. They would make kind of your portfolio. And if you cover 75%, then you get the credit. Like 2 weeks before the end of the course, you will get this college, to make sure what you need to, whether you have any debts, what you need to do just to get the credit. Is it clear? And here is how it looks. There would be a QR code. I hope that at least you will get the link to Telegram channel, where you will get on Friday all the registration details, link, and stuff like that. So this is how the course looks like. So there would be a notebook, a Jupyter notebook for each lecture, or from lecture 3, it makes sense because there would be some code snippets, then a test, then a task.
Is it some kind of a website?
It is an LMS, learning management system. So here you would have the test, so multiple choice questions, you just answer them, and even if you do not pass it, do not cover half of it, still it gets you some points for your portfolio. So do not just close it, at least try to guess if you don't want to look through the notes, but I strongly recommend you to spend at least 10 or 15 minutes to look through, because of the time. And then the practical task. So here I describe all the requirements and stuff. I always give the sample answer, what I want from you, and then you just attach a file with your answer. For example, here, this time, you would just enumerate a few limitations in your research area, quite fine still, that you figure out communicating to GPT. And here is the link to the channel, where you will get, in fact, all the information about the course. So this Friday you will get the link to the site and the instruction how to register there. And of course you are welcome to ask any questions within this channel about the content of the course. I will take those, and guys from the foundation will answer your questions in terms of how this LMS works. If you have any problems with the registration or with the uploading the answers and stuff like that. So you can ask questions there in Russian or English as you prefer. And at the same time, if you have questions which you want to discuss in Russian, you are welcome to come up after lectures. Okay? So, does it work? Do you have the link?
Yeah.
It's a pity that we didn't play this game with Yandex, but hope that you will find time for it during the weekend probably. So all the links would be in the channel. Any questions? You can just approximately choose something from the field. What faculty do you come from? Foreign language, okay, right. That's why I do not still have the paper. Just something from linguistics field, something which you are interested in, which probably might come your research interest. And still, you will start probably your spецкурс in October, and we will start dealing with papers like in November, so probably you will already have some materials.